Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Death Ray here. How y'all doing on this lovely Tuesday? Yeah, we continue the crazy amount of streams and busyness here on the channel as we cruise through October. It is spooky season, folks. We are in the heart of it right now. And man, shit, as I speak, Dave McCrae's talking about Halloween hot takes on his channel, which is really fun, exciting stuff. Pat, that Halloween collector, and his buds are just about to go live and watch The Monster Squad, which is one of my favorite, spooky season movies from my childhood. So, man, YouTube is just really humming along with a bunch of great content for all of the horror fans out there. So I really appreciate you guys for kicking it with us here tonight. And we are going to be talking how to make Halloween Kills better. And I'm super pumped to get into this one. I really love the David Gordon Green trilogy. I think they're all top 5 for me as far as placement goes in the ranking. But just like anything else that I love, it ain't perfect. And not one of these movies is perfect. So it'll be really cool to see what we would change about Halloween Kills here. Now, if you missed last week's show, a couple of big points you're going to want to know. So I'm thinking of how this Halloween trilogy as a true follow-up to the original, right? Like they had intended. So H18 isn't called Halloween anymore. It's called Halloween Kills. It's more brutal. Corey Cunningham shows up as one of Allison's study buddies. He's in the National Honor Society with her. So we see him interacting with her and her friend group. Cameron doesn't like Corey. He's been picking on him for their whole lives going through school. And he certainly doesn't like that this guy's hanging out with this girl doing homework and all that stuff. And maybe he feels a little insecure about intelligence level as well, that maybe Corey's got some sort of edge that, he doesn't have. I mean, Cameron doesn't have. So those are a couple of big points. Sartain, it's sort of a take him or leave him kind of thing in my version of Kills. I certainly want Hawkins not being with Sartain. I want that just to be some deputy. In my version of H18, which again is called Halloween Kills, we're shifting everything up. We're shifting everything up so it can be Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends, where Michael actually dies, and then a new movie called Halloween Returns. That's David Gordon Green's anthology film that brings the Corey character back and actually feels like it operates outside of that trilogy, right? Because even though David Gordon Green did 3 movies, technically the trilogy should be over after Kills, but that's no way to end it if the next film is called Halloween Ends. So yeah, Hawkins is going to be the sheriff in my version of these stories. And I'm trying to think of some of the other bigger points that I had made in there. Definitely want to have the Shape Stalks Allison be a longer scene that feels more like a chase and we get more of that awesome music. I want Allison to have a couple more friends so Vicky can live. Dave can still die. Whatever, who cares? But yeah, so that sort of wraps up kind of where we were last week at the end of our live, talking about converting Halloween 18 to Halloween Kills. And here tonight, I know it says Halloween Kills up there, but right off the bat, start thinking about it as Halloween Ends. This will be the story that wraps up what started in 1978. It's going to wrap up in this film, and then we're going to get that 4 years later anthology film that we will talk about next week, next Tuesday, in fact, right at the same bat time, same bat channel. So 8 p.m. Eastern here on the Davey Death Ray channel. But I want to say what's up to everybody before we get going. Looks like we've got 13 folks watching us at the moment. That's awesome. We've got Lamontre Gillard in the house. How you doing, Lamontre? So great to see you. Medley Man pumps up and says, I think they gave us the perfect amount of info in this movie to piece together Michael's true nature in the whole trilogy. Yeah, I think that Kills does quite a bit right. It's got a couple different odd side steps, but I like quite a bit of it. Raymond Malaber, one of our great channel members, jumps in and says, "Evil dies tonight." Oh, I love it. Medley Man says, normally I would think this is redundant and ultimately unnecessary, but I wish Corey was in this and the first one. Okay, yeah, we covered that last week, so I encourage you to go check that out when we're done here with the live medley, man, and hear all my thoughts on that one. Sweet, Raymond. Got to see Longlegs and Terrifier 3. I've still yet to see Terrifier 3. Still mulling it over, not sure. We got Vanderhoff jumping in. How you doing, Dave? Says Halloween Kills is the best one in the new trilogy. All right, yeah, so he's answering the poll there that we've got. 16 votes so far. The poll asks, where do you rank Halloween Kills within the DGG trio of films? 62% of people say second. 25 say first, and 12% say third. All right, we'll keep that open throughout the duration here, and maybe I'll remember to close out the poll before I end the stream. We'll see. We got Big Rod hanging out, one of our great channel members. How you doing, Big Rod? Love seeing you in there. Gene Whitacombe. How you doing, Gene? Hope you are having a great day. The happy crow optimist. Prince says Wednesday for me, but happy Tuesday, USA and the world, baby. Love it. How are you doing, Prince? What's happening, Mike? Great to see you in the chat. Welcome. I think this is your first time hanging out with us, so welcome to Hanging with the Death Squad. How you doing, Frank? We got Frank's from Frank's Media and Reviews, guys. If you don't sub over there, go check out his channel, watch some of his vids, and think about clicking that subscribe button, right? Nice. Breakfast, coffee, and bread. I should have grabbed a cup of coffee before jumping in here, because I always like to get a little pumped up, for sure. How you doing, Trisha? One of our great channel members and Patreon members as well. Always a pleasure to see you. Hope the week is treating you well so far here. Our Life in Horror, what's happening? I'm guessing that's Sam. Hope you're having a great week so far, Sam. You guys have been very active and fun to watch this spooky season for sure. Let's see here. What's up, Dynamite Tiger? How you doing? Yeah, a killer week so far. How about you, Dynamite? Hope it's been going well. Let's see here. We've got Travis Mitchell. How you doing, Travis? Pleasure to see you in the chat. I don't know if this is your first time, Travis. If so, then welcome. I hope you have a really fun time. We're gonna kind of go with the same format we went with last time, guys, where I sort of, rant for a little bit and then I jump back into the chat. So I thought about doing these as pre-recorded videos and felt like it would just take for friggin' ever to do those. So I like going live with you guys. But maybe at some point I do need to think about these more and sit down and do like an actual pre-recorded video. Let me know in the chat or in the comments section below if that's something that you're into. And we can get that rolling for you. What's happening, Gory Tiger? So great to see you hanging out with us. Love that. Yeah, hit that like button. Absolutely. Listen to Raymond. He knows what's up. Frank says Kills is my second favorite in the trilogy. Has terrible dialogue. The acting isn't that great, but I fucking love it. Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Travis says, before Kills, my idea was the Strodes would return to town with no one alive to verify Michael being responsible for the murders. The Strodes being accused, camera running into Julian, protecting him. All right. Yeah, that is a deep cut idea to have the Strodes come back. Yeah, absolutely. Shay Rants, what's happening, Shay? Hope you're doing well. Says, hey, Davey, Kills is a pretty good entry, but the whole town pretty much becoming the villains ruined it for me. Oh, we'll get into that. Let's see here. We've got James in the chat saying evil dies tonight. I'm sure we'll get a bunch of those tonight. Why not? Basically, Cameron and Julian would be the only ones who can verify the whereabouts of the Strodes during the murders and Michael and Myers' presence. Oh, yeah, gotcha. Okay, so they're blaming Lori and her family. Wild. What's happening, Dean? Hope you're having a good day. Always a pleasure to see you. Yeah, very much like Springfield in The Simpsons, the Haddonfieldians here. For sure. What's happening, Jamie? Our original Death Squad mod. Hope you're having an all right evening thus far. No worries about being late. We're just getting going. We're just getting going. This is for sitting through my H3 National Lampoon pitch the other night. Oh, no worries, man. Where was that on a different channel? I'm making sure that I'm not forgetting something, because I feel like I've been live every night, Travis. So my apologies, but thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. Really appreciate you. I would love to see a National Lampoon's crossover into some sort of Halloween parody. It could be fun. It could be fun for sure. Let's see what else we got. How you doing, Nicholas? Always great to see ya. Thanks for joining us tonight. James says I still need to see Ends, but I'd probably say Ends first, then Kills, then 18. Yeah, I really like Ends. A lot of people don't like it though. Jamie says it's Kills is her favorite in the trilogy. At least it is today. Yeah, my thoughts on the films have changed as I've watched them more and more. So yeah, it's kind of tough. That's an interesting point. Oh yeah, during Pat's stream. Yeah, no problem, Travis. I appreciate you with the assist there. Wade F. and Wilson, how you doing, Wade? Says, ooh, tough poll. I feel like Kills has become my guilty pleasure movie of the trilogy now. The more I see of it, the more I enjoy it and have fun with it. Yeah, it is a ton of fun. Yep. Yeah, some of the writing not so good. I'm doing all right, Gene. Thank you so much for asking. How are you doing? I hope this Tuesday has treated you well so far. How are you doing, Liana, one of our great channel members? As is Dean and Wade. I'm so sorry, guys. I try to always bring that up that you guys are channel members. Hope your day is treating you well here, Liana. Really appreciate you kicking it here with us. Sam says, I loved Kills when I saw it in theaters, saw it this year again, and didn't love it as much. Yeah, I think the first time I saw it, I was like, man, there's so much of it worked for me. And then when we get to the whole mob thing and the Tivoli thing, I really was like, what's going on here? And then it kind of brought me back in. I think I've warmed up to Kills like as I've watched it more. Not to say that those things work for me, but maybe they just don't bug me as much as they did. There is something poetic about Ends. Yeah, and we will get to that one next week for sure. Yeah. Kills is so brutal and full of excitement, so it edges out on Ends today. Yeah, it is a great. I love the interpretation of Michael. I love how brutal Michael is. The kills are fascinating and yeah, full of excitement. Absolutely, for sure. Well, it looks like we've said what's up to everyone in the chat. Holy cow, we've got like 20 people hanging out with us watching right now. That is awesome, especially with how much exciting content and just the lives that are going on right now as well. So yeah, guys, we can sort of get into this. I just want to have a little sip of my Waterloo black cherry there. Right? Oh, cherry limeade. Oh, I thought it was black cherry. Just tastes straight up like cherries to me. I don't taste any lime. Oh, yeah. All right, guys, let's jump into this one. So, right off the bat, the title. Remember last week, we're calling Halloween 2018. We're calling that one Halloween Kills. Michael's more brutal. There's more kills in it. Go and check out that live if you want to catch up with everything else. But essentially, the reasoning behind that, I'd said this in the intro as well. We're going Halloween 78 to Halloween Kills to Halloween Ends. And then David Gordon Green gets to have his own movie outside of that trilogy where he gets to sort of do whatever he wants. And people can't complain that Michael's not in it enough or whatever you want to, whatever you say about Halloween Ends that doesn't work for you. I think for all those folks that it doesn't work for, it probably would if it was truly like the fourth film or the follow-up. And that version of Ends would be called Return. So for the purposes tonight, I know it says Halloween Kills up there, but we're calling this movie Halloween Ends. And Michael will be dealt with in this film. And so let's jump into the next one because the title is probably the easiest one to go over. So yeah, this one's called Halloween Ends, and let's just go ahead and jump into the flashback. I do have some notes here because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything this time around. I love the flashback. I think it's great. I would take another 5 minutes in there, 5-10 minutes. I know some folks would rather it just be like a whole movie that takes place then. I don't know if that's completely necessary, but yeah, I would take another 5 or 10 minutes as long as it's engaging and we're following Michael and that it serves the piece, right? That's really what you want to make sure is that you're serving the greater piece. And a couple changes I would make though in the flashback. I don't know why. Is this something I've thought about like ever since maybe the second or third time I watched the movie? Is when Lonnie falls down and he sees Michael walking towards him, and then he like, cowers down, and the police, are like, "Hey kid, are you okay?" And he's like, "Where is he?" All that kind of stuff. When they ask who, and he turns like towards the camera and says the boogeyman, I'd cut to credits right there. That's when I want my credits. And after the credits wrap up, we return to the flashback and finish it out from there. So we return to the police looking at the Myers house, and Hawkins and the other officer going into the home. And I think that totally works. The way the original film starts, right, is you get the credits first. So, I don't think I think you can end it on the cinematic tableau that they end the flashback on, in the original cut of the film. That's where they go to the credits, there is after the tableau. However, I would just go from the tableau like right into, Mix Bar, where all the survivors from 1978 are hanging out, and there's the talent show and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's where I would cut to after the tableau. So yeah, I would put, I don't know, maybe it's unpopular, I don't know, but there's something about when he says the boogeyman that I want it to go to the credits right there. I don't know, maybe that's a little premature. I just think that's a great moment to cut away, do those credits, and then come back to that flashback. But I totally know why they waited until the tableau, but I'm curious to know what you guys think. Let's see here. It looks like I may have missed some folks jumping into the chat, so let's make sure we didn't miss anyone. Boom, there's Ty Lee. How you doing, Ty? Don't like the montage of Michael versus the mob. We will get to that for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the flashback is absolutely outstanding. Yeah, I would put, Travis, you should check out the episode from last week, because I have a whole thing with Corey in there. So yeah, I definitely think he belongs at least in the first movie out of David Gordon Green's. I don't know if he needs to be here though. I think it actually kind of works better to bring him back, and it's like, oh yeah, remember that kid? I think that works better than trying to shoehorn him into everything. And I think he fits in that first film as Allison's National Honor Society study buddy. Let's see here. Extend it, add more Loomis to the flashback. Yeah, maybe add an extra killer too. They could definitely do that. Tommy Doyle would be replaced by an Irish guy named Hal Oween. That's hilarious, Brother Fluff. Welcome to the chat, by the way. Liana could do a whole movie in the flashback. Yeah, I totally get it for sure. How you doing, Adrian? One of our great channel members kicking it with us. Brother Fluff is also a channel member. Awesome to see you guys hanging out tonight. Let's see here. A nice or a neat experiment would be to begin kills with Lonnie and his friends approaching the Myers house, Loomis scaring him off. Oh, I got you. Like, sort of tie it in with 78. Yeah, I got little Back to the Future kind of action there. And I think that I really like that idea. In fact, that's how, at the end of, so let's see here. At the end of last week's episode, I was talking about the way that I would wrap up, the second film in the trilogy. So the way I would wrap up my version of kills, that we had discussed last week, is I would show some of the firefighter scene. Like, I would actually, instead of zooming in on the knife in the truck or whatever and ending the film there, I think I would have ended the film like when Michael's in the midst of killing those firefighters. I would have cut it there. And then, we sort of see, I'll jump into the portrayal of Laurie here. Once we're done with the flashback, we cut to Mick's bar and everything. We're hanging out with all those people. And then after that, we see the rest of the firefighter scene that's happening. We find out that it's happening at the same time. So a little bit of that Back to the Future 2 kind of thing, where the worlds are sort of overlapping. And then that way, when you watch them back, they sort of interweave. We still get Laurie saying like, let it burn and all that kind of fun stuff too. But the first part of that, we actually see in the movie before it. So we know that, like, holy shit, like, this ain't over, and speaking of the portrayal of Laurie, I don't mind her going to the hospital. I just don't think she really needs to be in this movie very much. I think I'm going to put her off to the side for the most part, because I want to make this movie about all of the other characters, because trust me, we're going to get plenty of Laurie, in next week's episode when we talk about what I'm calling Halloween Returns, which would be the Corey Cunningham Halloween story. We're going to get a lot more Laurie in that one. So yeah, Laurie is relatively she's just kind of comatose in this one, kind of like she was in the original Halloween 2. She has her surgeries. She's going to be okay. And then we'll get to the rest of the stuff surrounding the hospital and all that kind of fun stuff. Let's see what you guys are saying. Holy crap, what is happening? There we go. All right. You could sprinkle a little bit of Corey in, or sprinkle Corey in a little bit in kills, or at least mention his name. Yeah, you could mention him if you want to. Why not? I'll allow it. Having Lonnie running off, or running after being scared by Loomis, then going into him tripping would keep him a bully, unlike kills, where he's a victim all of a sudden. Yeah, and I think what they were trying to do is just trying to show us that, like, sometimes the reason why people bully is because somebody else is bullying them, and it just makes them feel better, Yeah, we will get to these guys for sure. Get a death ray cut. Yeah, go in and like shoot some different scenes. Or I guess I could just cut with what they've got and sort of mix some stuff in there. Yeah. It was pretty badass. You're absolutely right. Yeah, so kind of moving into what Jamie had said here with Tommy and Lindsay being a bigger part of the plot. Guys, last time around, we had talked about Tommy is a city councilman and he's running for mayor. And so we don't see him in the previous film, but we see his campaign signs, stuck in people's lawns. We see all this stuff like, Doyle for Haddonfield, mayor, blah, 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 just all that kind of stuff. So we have a sense that Tommy exists like in this world, but we didn't meet him in the previous film. However, we cut to Mick's bar after the flashback. We've got Lonnie, Lindsay, and Marion hanging out at the bar. Most everything in the bar is still going the way it's going. You still have the doctor and nurse couple hanging out, all that kind of stuff. The talent show, it's great. But Tommy is a little late showing up to the hangout, and he's got he's running for office. So he's got a little bit of that dress down running for office look, button up dress shirt with maybe he's taken his tie off or he's loosened it or something. The sleeves are rolled up, but he's still wearing his slacks. The shirt's still tucked in, nice shoes, all that kind of stuff. Like, Tommy doesn't just look like a regular guy like he looks in the version of Kills that we got. So he's definitely got that whole kind of air about him, but he still is hanging out with his buddies every Halloween. They make a tradition of hanging out and coming together, not to reminisce or anything, but just to be there and support each other after all they've been through and everything. So he's still got that kind of real person appeal, but Lonnie and Lindsay and Marion all kind of give him a little bit of shit for thinking he's something special running for office, but it's good-natured ribbing. So yeah, that's sort of like that different, portrayal of Tommy, where I wanted to give him, like, in the version of Kills that we got, he leads the mob, but you're sort of like, why? It's just like he does it just because he was there as a kid back in 78, because I think it just makes a little bit more sense, running for office, councilman that wants to become mayor. He sees this as an opportunity. Once everyone finds out the news and finds out what's going on, he sees it as an opportunity to not only win votes, but just to show people that he really can be a leader, because he's got aspirations to go further than that in life. And, Haddonfield is near and dear to him, and he wants to be there and protect those people. And speaking of, once everyone finds out what's going on, if you remember from last week's episode, no one made it out of that bus crash alive. Michael slaughtered everyone. So we're not getting any Tivoli. We're not getting any sort of confusion with the mob. We don't even get any evil dies tonight. Maybe I'll let you have a little Huckleberry. But you have to promise to not repeat everything you say, Tommy. Okay. So yeah, they find out, just like we find out in the cut that we got, except for there's no Tivoli. So there's no reason for anyone to have any sort of confusion as to what's going on. And the mob still does form. But, Tommy's a well meaning guy. He actually has a plan. I'm not convinced he really has a plan in the version of kills that we got. One of the things he says that just makes like zero sense to me is like, we have to use the element of surprise. So he thinks you're showing up one place and then boom, you show up somewhere else. And it's like, well, what the hell does that mean? Like that, how do you know what he's thinking? How do you know where he's thinking that you'll be? So how do you outmaneuver him and surprise him? It just seems like a bunch of, like, to me, that's a big nothing burger. Like that sentence literally means nothing at all. And so we're going to have a smarter Tommy, but Michael is powerful and Michael is brutal, and it doesn't mean that anything goes much better for the mob. Michael is still popping up all over the place, killing people here and there. This movie is going to be brutal and bloody, and the mob will have their time in the end, but it's still costly, and there still can be that lesson that that having a mob, no matter which side you're on, or no matter what your intentions are, good intentions or bad intentions, there still can be that lesson that participating in a mob is no bueno. So that's going to be one of the huge shifts here, is still retaining that, but like a lot of you voiced in the chat earlier, when we were getting going here, talking about how it's the stupidest town in like all of horror, and making fun of all the evil dies tonight and all that. And I understand that like mobs have chants that they use in this movie. It does seem a little corny, just a smidge. But yeah, I want to catch up with you guys here and see what you're saying in the chat. Let's see here. I don't think Corey and Allison had chemistry. Corey seems more like an Oscar level, and she totally shoots him down. Oh, Oscar. I'm like, Oscar, like performance wise? Wow. Oh, you mean Oscar from H18. Yeah, I think I do. I sense the chemistry between them in Ends, but I think, yeah, if you put him in the first film, in this, in this version of the David Gordon Green movies that we're talking about here, yeah, I don't think we need chemistry so much when they're just being study buddies. I think it can be pretty platonic, for sure. It's very unbelievable that she's mobile with the injury she sustained. Oh yeah, with Lori. Yeah, it's very, very odd. I don't understand it at all. Let's see here. What else you got? Some of these I just might not bring up because I don't want to get too like, I love that you guys are putting in your own theories and everything here, but for the purpose of like the rewatch and all that stuff, for the folks that are watching after the fact, I just want to sort of stay on track here, and then we can jump into some of those chats, and people can definitely see those chats on the replay as well. How to fix it? Have Lori get in on the action. I'm actually sidelining her on this one. She'll have plenty of fun in the next one, but in this one, I'm keeping her in the hospital. I think we've gotten a bit of enough of Lori at this point. The score for kills is incredible. Yeah, I would not touch the music. I think the scores are incredible here. Nicholas Lindsay is, she's the little girl from the original film. They brought back the same actress, to play her as well. She's, middle-aged, black hair. She's the one that runs up to the kids on the swings and is like, you got to get home. Like, what the hell are you doing out here? And the kids are just little shits. They are just little shits. Yeah, she'll be there for the final act, Joel, for sure. And welcome to the chat, by the way. And we got Sergio in the chat. Where are you at the movie, Tommy? So yeah, we're at the spot where Tommy and the gang are all hanging out. Tommy's running for office. He's got a clean look. He is ready to get the mob rolling and everything, but he actually has a plan this time. He's very capable. He's actually pretty calm. And, in this version of the movie, like, we actually like these characters, which I think I don't know if you can really say that about everyone in the David Gordon Green movies, especially I think in Halloween Kills. Tommy could have been served a little bit better through the script. I think Anthony Michael Hall did a great job, and I'm not recasting when I'm doing my how to make it better. I think Anthony Michael Hall is a terrific actor. I just don't think he was handed really the best stuff here. What's happening, Ashton? Great to see you. Love having you hop on into the chat. Ashton is one of our great channel members here. We got Victor E. Merced. He says, hi, y'all from Puerto Rico. How you doing, Victor? Great to see you. Welcome to the chat. You're hanging out with the Death Squad. So hope you have a fun time, my guy. Let's see who else we got going on in here. Brackett with the throwaway line was a little cringe. Yeah, we're going to talk about him. In fact, yep, there you go, Big Rod. Business casual Tommy Doyle rather than average Joe Tommy. That's what I'm saying. I think that everyone else can be sort of schlubby, but I just want some dynamics here and something to be different. And I wanted Tommy to have a reason just beyond like whatever he says in the, the cut of the film that we got where he's like, Lori, when I was a kid, you protected me and I'm going to protect you now. I just thought there could have been way more meat on the bone there and more motivation and stakes for Tommy, for sure. I like a little cringe with my brutality, says Jamie. That's I love that. But Liana brings up a good point, though. Brackett's line is pretty cringy. I think Brackett overall, while it's cool that Charles Cyphers got to come back to the franchise, he doesn't belong in this movie like one bit. They didn't do enough to justify having him in there. All he does is what a lot of people do in this movie is talk about what already happened. 40 years ago, this happened, desecrated my daughter's body, like all this kind of stuff. And, really obvious lines about, what does he say? Like, now we're the monsters and stuff after Tivoli dies. I just think that's silly. And then bringing back the line of, I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare. Like, why would Brackett ever remember saying that? Like, does he live in the universe that we live in where he watches the Halloween movie once a year and knows that that's a line? Because if that's something that you said to somebody in 1978, you are not going to remember in 2018, unless it was what you said to everyone. But I don't think that's a thing. I don't know. I just feel like Brackett overall, it was great seeing Charles Cyphers in here. Rest in peace. We lost him, in the middle of the summer here this year. I do love his character and everything, but I feel like the way that they wrote him here, you don't really need him. I tried thinking of a way to insert him into this movie, but I think since he's part of that whole mob and confusion over Tivoli, I think it's best to just leave Brackett out. Like, Brackett has either passed away or doesn't live there anymore. If you're going to bring anyone back, then bring back Meeker, which is probably a hot take because Meeker shouldn't even exist in this universe. But yeah, I'm glad you brought up Brackett there because I don't see the point of him having in there. I want to know who wrote his line about desecrating Annie's body because that never happened, really. Yeah, I guess the fact that he moved the body, posing the body on the bed with the headstone, I guess that could be considered desecrating the body because you're moving it from the spot where you killed it. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer or an officer of the law, but I wonder if that's why they use that word. I'm not sure. Brackett remembering Laurie reminded me of when Will Turner's dad remembered him at World's End. That's pretty funny, actually, because, yeah, it's almost like he's kind of lost. And it just, I feel bad that, it went the way it did. But, yeah, like Trisha says, total fan service having Brackett in there. It's just, it doesn't further the plot. It's, I would say, some of the biggest eye roll moments in the film for me are the Brackett moments, unfortunately. And I'm not a big fan. Like, if you took out the mob or at least like truncated it to where Tivoli doesn't end his own life tragically, not the kind of darkness I want in my Halloween movies, then I would love Kills even more. But, the stuff that works in Kills for me works really well. Yeah, I'm guessing that's the reference. Yeah, lay the body out doesn't. Yeah, I guess just even moving the body, maybe they consider. Yeah, exactly. Brackett is in Florida fishing and startling women. Of course, of course. Victor says, I'm watching randomly all Halloween movies all the days, weeks, literally. Is this normal? I think so, Victor. You're in the right place because we certainly accentuate our love for Halloween and for horror, during the month of October. A lot of us start in September, but man, I'm watching horror movies like all throughout the year because I'm just such a fan of the genre. So I think it's totally normal to be watching these movies year round. Jamie says, coming from a fatherly perspective, he could have meant desecrated, as in he brutally murdered her. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that the desecration is part of the kill for sure. Yeah, Victor, it's pretty wild that people just looked older back then. Life was tougher. People started smoking cigarettes when they were 12 and never stopped. I don't know. So moving on from bracket question mark, and let's just say we'll leave bracket out. Brackett is, we're not even mentioning him. If he gets mentioned, he's passed away. Maybe we see his picture somewhere in a police station or something like that. Who knows? Now Hawkins, remember Hawkins in the world that I'm creating here, Hawkins is the sheriff. Everything that happened in the flashback still happened. So there was the tragedy where he tries to shoot Michael and ends up shooting his fellow officer. All of that still takes place. But Brackett wasn't with Sartain in the previous film. He wasn't stabbed. He wasn't ran over. However, he does show up at the hospital. He does have his interaction with Lori. It's similar to the interaction that they have in the version that we got, but not as corny and not as like trying to do a Shakespearean sort of monologue between the two. And, this is where we get, Brackett still, he tells Lori about what happened on that night in 78. So we still get that chunk of the exposition, him explaining it to Lori. And he's the one that's basically like, we should have protected you then. I should have let them do what needed to be done. And tonight I'm going to make sure that we kill him for good. Like that's so I guess you can also say that Brackett reports that, Michael escaped. There was a massacre with the firefighters, all that stuff, that he's loose, but that she can rest assured. And maybe she's even like, let's just say she's out at this time. She's had surgery, but she's sort of in a medically induced, maybe not a coma, but she's asleep. We're gathering that she's sort of picking up on some of the stuff he's saying. Maybe her eyes are like fluttering or moving while they're closed, or maybe she's like having little like facial tics or something to show that on some level what Brackett's telling her registers to her. But it's just as much for the audience as it is for Lori. And so, Tommy doesn't show up to the hospital. The mob doesn't show up at the hospital. None of that kind of stuff. Allison and Karen both take part in the mob. So they're both going around looking for Michael and trying to do what they can do to off him. And as the movie goes on, we see different groups of the Haddonfield mob running into Michael, some of them getting some good shots in, but ultimately we see that his brutal reign of terror continues. Some of it we get on screen, some of it we show up for an aftermath. You guys know how I feel about slashers. I like a little bit of everything. I like those dynamics. I don't need to see every bit of every kill. I do want to see some kills that really do like raise the bar and make you go, oh, damn, like all that kind of stuff. Like I want that, but not every kill has to be that way. So, Michael's going around slaughtering people in the mob. The mob's starting to realize, they have their little meetup similar to what actually happens in the final cut of the film. They have their little meetups and everything, and they start finding out that their forces are sort of dwindled and they need to do something, they need to find a way to either lure him somewhere, or they need to find out like where he's headed so they can all go take him on at once. So that brings us to, I think, I guess we already sort of talked about Mr. Tivoli and the mob, Big John and Little John. Now, I love these guys. like, maybe I wouldn't have them say their name so much. We'll get to the dialogue overall. I know we've touched on it already. I don't need them to say Big John and Little John at the end of every sentence. It seems like they sort of do that at the end of every sentence. And maybe it's funny a couple times. I just don't think it's necessary. I think there's a lot of repetition in this script that I don't know why it's that way throughout. But I love these guys so much. I wouldn't change very much about them at all. I love the intro with the Stop, Look, and Listen. It's Halloween song. I think that's great. I love the way it's shot. I like these quirky characters. I really, I feel like one of the negatives people say about these movies is, oh, they shouldn't have had Danny McBride write. The comical stuff doesn't work at all. And I completely disagree. I think like most of the comedy really works. For me, it really works. And I like having the break, the two cops in H-18, like I like having that break from everything. It's like, if you're watching a horror movie and there's nothing to ease the tension or to cut the tension, then to me, it's just like one note and boring. And I think it's a good little break. And then you get shook back into something that's a lot more serious and brutal. And Big John and Little John are a great example of that. I love their interaction with the three little shits that we see, hanging out at the park later. Really dig that whole thing, Big John with his like Michael fucking Myers. Like there's something about just them, giving the lore to those kids and sort of showing them what's what. And I don't know if you guys picked up on this. I don't know if it's in Halloween Kills or if it's something we see in Ends, but we find out that they're like realtors. I think we see their name on like a park bench or something like that. And yeah, they're realtors. That's why they're living at the Myers house. Much like John Strode from Curse of Michael Myers, they probably got a smoking deal and probably spent just as much as they spent buying the home on remodeling the home, because damn, the Myers house looks gorgeous. It is quite adorable. Yeah, so Big John and Little John, love these guys. Unfortunately, they still got to die. This is a Myers that's out there killing people. And ultimately, once Lonnie figures out like, hey, he's going right back to his house, that is what's going to lead the mob there. So once the mob is sort of like licking their wounds and realizing that they've lost, a decent amount of their folks, that there's at least a few people killed from each different pocket that went out all over Haddonfield, they realize that they need to go to the source, that Michael is headed back to the Myers house. And essentially we're going to see like, them circle the house, kind of like a Simpsons mob, a little Springfield mob action going on, which, the Springfieldians are always, ready to hop to and start a torch wielding mob. So we're kind of going to see a little bit of that here. And, we're going to have a scene similar to, what we see in the actual movie. Lonnie, Cameron, and Allison go in to the house. Lonnie and Cameron don't make it, just like they don't make it in the cut that we got. And very similarly, Karen saves Allison. She takes the mask and basically just lures him right out into the street, like right in front of the Myers house. So we have this epic scene, none of all the stuff that they did, during that montage at the end of Halloween Kills was pretty much like on a soundstage. It's just blackness behind everyone. It's sort of flat looking, and it certainly has like a style to it and everything like that. Like, it's definitely got that going on. But it just sort of looks boring to me. So I would have them bring, lure Michael out just right into the street. The mob is slowly like, forming around him and going into the street. And, essentially we get a successful version of what we saw in Halloween Kills, where they really do, slice him, stab him, shoot him. I mean, they're like ripping him to pieces. So instead of a funeral procession where they, drive his slashed up body to a meat grinder, or not a meat grinder, a metal grinder. Oh, that could have been a meat grinder. Why not? Just put him in the meat grinder like Sweeney Todd and just churn him all out. But like, they don't even have to do that, because they are literally like, this is therapy for the people of of Haddonfield. So they have lured Michael out of his house. He's sort of damaged from just everything that he's been doing, over the last course of the day and a half, and all the damage he's taken from some of the shots the mob has already gotten in on him. And we don't need to see something like a George Romero zombie film thing where they're literally carrying off his limbs, but I think we can get, with silhouettes and backlighting, like we can have some really tasteful shots of them like literally ripping him to pieces and dissecting him. And that would be pretty much where this movie ends. And you know what? Karen, she lives. I don't really see the point in having her get killed, especially if in the next movie you're going to have like Lori be totally okay with like Halloween and wanting to like, show what does she say? Show grief your tits or what? Like I have such a tough time believing that after losing her child. To me, it's just completely bizarre. So I would have Karen live, so we don't get that psycho ending or anything like that. She doesn't need to, like, I don't, going back to the dialogue, I don't need any of that speech about like, I'm just like your sister was, and I'm an innocent woman that you kill. Like all that kind of stuff is so heavy-handed. It's almost like it's there for people that still haven't seen the original, which, like, if you're watching this movie and you haven't seen the original, what are you doing? Kind of thing. So yeah, Karen lives, none of that weak dialogue, and Michael is literally torn to pieces. And, I would say a great way to end this movie is, zooming in on that mask on the street, right? And maybe somebody picks it up. Maybe there's just like the crowd is dissipated, the mask is sitting there, and we see someone's hand come into frame and pick it up. And that hand would have a ring on it, and we would know who that is once we see the next movie. So yeah, that's how I would wrap up my version of Halloween Kills that I'm calling Halloween Ends. I know it's so incredibly confusing. I'll say it for anyone that's entered the room recently. So Halloween 78, and then we go to Halloween Kills, which is H18, but ramped up and a little different. And then we go to this movie, which is now called Halloween Ends, and we see the definitive demise of Michael Myers. And then we get to take that break. We get to have David Gordon Green come back and do his one-off Halloween movie called Halloween Returns, where we essentially are going to replace Michael Myers. So sorry, but at least it's its own thing. So we've wrapped up this nice trilogy. You can just end right there if you want to. You don't have to watch Halloween Returns. And maybe that's one of the reasons why people have a tough time with Ends, is because it's called Ends, and it's kind of an attachment. It's like an addendum. So it's odd that you would call it Ends when it's actually like the next chapter of the story. So we're going to fix that by calling this movie Halloween Ends and having the next one be Halloween Returns. And I'm going to talk all about that next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm super pumped to get into that one, guys, because I have a lot of love for the original Halloween Ends. And I think that it would be so much more accessible to a larger group of the fandom if they'd sort of reworked things a little bit. And it's odd because they had more time to do these movies because of the pandemic. Yet for some reason, it seems like I don't know if they played around too much. Maybe they had a better idea to begin with. I know they had to change some stuff around. But it seems like the extra time didn't really help them. And holy crap, there's like 95 chats that have come through. Holy jeez. I do appreciate you guys just letting me kind of go there for a little bit. I think sometimes when I get on a roll with my train of thought, I don't really want to break it, but we're pretty much at the spot where I think I've gone through all of the changes I would make. I just want to make sure here. Yeah, when it comes to the dialogue, not bringing back those legacy lines, we kind of touched on that. I wanted to make sure to accentuate that. Speaking of, I will bring up the dialogue banner again. I do not want Marion saying like, this one's for Dr. Loomis. Like that kind of stuff is terrible. I can't stand that stuff. And even like her one-off line about Loomis where it's like she says something like no one believed him and people were like who, and she's like Dr. Loomis, Michael's first doctor. It's just like, oh crap. Those lines are for people who haven't watched the other movies. And so it's like, honestly, how I feel about it, like if you're watching the David Gordon Green Halloween movies and you don't know who Dr. Loomis is, fuck you. That's kind of how I feel about that. Anyways, I want to catch up here with you guys in the chat. I know there's a whole bunch of chats that I missed here. Welcome in, Allie Girl, one of our great channel members. Hope you're doing well. That line about starting smoking cigarettes at 12 is funny. People did that back then. What's happening, Chester? Great to see you in the chat, my guy. Welcome. Hopefully you're still hanging out. I know I just blah, blah, blah'd forever. Yeah, Kim, that's what's up. You got to watch them all year round. Absolutely. How are you doing, Brooke? Great to see you. One of our great channel members, Brooke Scarlett. Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed my little diatribe. I know a lot of y'all hang out over on Dave's channel, and I guess what I did there was a little bit of Dave where I just I put the chat away for a second and I just blah, blah, blah about my thing because I get on my thing and I don't want to break away from it. We got Greedo in a Speedo, says so big. Love it. I always think of, what is it? So good. I don't know what that's from. I can't think of it right now. Liana says the old couple where he's putting the knives in the back. Yes, we're keeping all that. All of that is great. I just wanted to highlight the changes I'm making. So yeah, guys, if I didn't talk about something specifically, then it means that I would pretty much just keep it as is. I love those scenes. I think the portrayal of Michael here is one of the best we've ever gotten. Certainly one of the best looking Michaels, and probably the most brutal one we've gotten outside of the Rob Zombie films. Thank you for the update there. Dean says my mob would have been Hawkins, Brackett, Allison, Cameron, Lindsay, Tommy, Lonnie, and Marion. Yeah, I think we can sort of just see we can go from randoms, there can still be a montage that just sort of shows people getting in some good shots on Michael, but ultimately getting wiped out. So instead of doing the soundstage, montage where it's just the big mob, and then I guess I would insert this 2/3 the way through the movie, kind of where all the Tivoli stuff is happening. That's where I would have the mobs out and about trying to get Michael, and we would see, a montage of their successes, but ultimately their failure for sure. Let's see here. The Johns are great, Trisha. Hell yeah, love those Johns. Hey, Big John. Yeah, Little John. Okay, Big John. Sounds good, Little John. Yeah. All the time, even when they're looking for each other in the house, they're like, Big John. It's like, wouldn't you just say John at that point? You're afraid for your life. Are you really sticking with the the nicknames there? Yeah, they're amazing. Yes, Victor, I think I have 6 of them. I've got H18 Kills, Ends, Curse, Part 2, and the original. Oh, I have 7 because I've got a Rob Zombie from Rob Zombie's Halloween. I'm not a big fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween remake, but I think the mask is pretty cool. So I've got one of those. Let's see here. Just want to make sure. Yeah, he stabbed his sister in the fucking tits or whatever. That whole thing is hilarious. I love their interaction with the kids, and yeah, they have great taste in their little in their remodeling for sure. Which one gets the knife in the eye, Big John or Little John? Well, we don't see Little John's death. Little John is the taller one. Big John gets the knife in the armpit, and then he gets his eyes squeezed out. And then I can't remember the nurse's name. The guy, he's playing the doctor, or he's dressed as a doctor. His wife's dressed as a nurse, but she's actually the doctor and he's actually the nurse. He's the one that gets the knife in the eye at the park when they're in the car. Yeah, when Michael attacks the car. That's a really great kill. Yeah, and all that stuff pretty much stays the same way, except for Marion doesn't have cheesy dialogue. The writing seemed to suggest that Haddonfield has an overall dark humor problem. Yeah. Haddonfield, it's unfortunate. I totally get what they're trying to do here. And I do think that it was a daring decision to say that about mobs, because I think David Gordon Green is trying to be fair. He's trying to say, like, look, no matter where you are in the political spectrum in this country, if you're part of a mob, it's not good. So even if you think you're rooting for the good guys, once you get together in a mob and start destroying things and hurting people, like, you've lost your ground. Your moral high ground has sunk away. So I think that's sort of the point he's making. And I don't mind having that point here. I think we can still make that point in this version of the film. They just really hit it on the nose in a way that is reminiscent of, like, I don't know, the lesser Kevin Smith movies or the Marvel movies, the way they can't seem to subtly try to make any point. They have to be like, this is what this movie's about. Instead of letting us, use our brains and analyze the art and see that for ourselves, which far be it from me to think that we should enjoy literature. And I do consider film as an extension of literature, but far be it from me to think that we should be able to enjoy and analyze and discuss literature and see sort of what it means to us and what we think it's saying, and then have that open conversation and discussion with one another to see, if there's some sort of theme or perspective that maybe we're missing out on that somebody else picked up on. So yeah, they have a dark humor problem for sure, Liana. Iron Karen was the right amount of wrong for me. We can still include her in the mob scene at the end, but maybe she's just not doing very much. Maybe she's got a generator. It's plugged into the generator and she's going to burn Michael, right? Have some Michael burgers. You guys are hilarious. Iron Lady did her best. She does a lot of laundry. She's not used to picking out weapons. I didn't like Karen dying either. I just really didn't see a point. I was like, all right, we're really pouring it on. Like, we just don't know what we're going to do with her. Or maybe they didn't have a contract written up for, what's her face? I'm trying to remember the actress's name right now, but I can't think of it, which is a shame because I see her in so much. Maybe they just didn't have her contracted for the next movie. Who knows? The cut of kills we got left her death open-ended. She slashed a bunch of times, but not really stabbed much. She could have survived the attack. But I think at the end, the way they show her, like, laying down with her eye open and the blood and it, like, I think we're sort of like, I think it's a safe assumption that she's dead. Although, you never know. And you know what, Dean? That actually made me remember something that I forgot to put in my notes. I'm so sorry, guys. Let me take a sip of water and we're going to jump into something really fun. All right. So real quick, we're going to do one more. Here we go. Are you guys ready for this one? Boom. Aaron, the podcaster. I'm bringing him back. We don't see him in action in this movie because he got beaten to a pulp in the bathroom in, the second act of this trilogy, which was called H18, but now we're calling it Halloween Kills. But we do see, when we're in the hospital, we do see that he's hooked up on all sorts of, like, life support kind of stuff. You don't really see much of him, but maybe as the camera goes by, we see like a patient name or something, or someone mentions him, because I want to bring Aaron back in. Well, I don't want to say too much about next week, but he's kind of going to be our Loomis in Halloween Returns. And I'm really excited to get into that. I'm not going to spoil any more of that here tonight, but that's just sort of my little closing thought, is we would tease that Aaron, the podcaster, did in fact make it out, although he's going to be very different when we see him next. Brackett and Laurie didn't have no scene or moment. Well, they have when Brackett. Yeah, that's true. Brackett and Laurie don't. For some reason, I started thinking Hawkins. Brackett and Laurie don't have anything together. That's why I think that maybe Brackett just doesn't need to be here. I would just say, get rid of him. He doesn't. The way that they wrote him into the story, he doesn't add anything. So we're just gonna cut him on out. Wasn't a big fan of Karen, so her death didn't really affect me. I totally hear you. I think more so for Laurie Ashton. That's the reason why I want Karen to survive, because if we're going to have a version of Laurie in the next film that has regained some of that hope and some of that, not childish joy, but that kind of teenage version of Lori that we sort of got in Ends. I like seeing that be a part of her character. But I think if that's going to be part of her character, it just wouldn't work if Karen's dead. So we're going to keep Karen alive, right? Who knows if she's going to make it out of the next one, but she's going to be in the next film for sure. And Jamie says that's the only real complaint. It seems to kind of come out of nowhere, and it seems pretty unnecessary. I bet that the reason why they did it is because they knew she couldn't take part in the next movie. I can totally see how you would think. Yeah, I totally get that. I think, you know what, though? Sometimes characters are just written a certain way, so they're different. It's like there are real people in the world that are annoying. Like I'm one of them, so I know. And so I think it's okay sometimes to have characters in a movie where you're like, oh, I didn't like the way that person, like, I didn't like that character. And it's like, well, that was the way the character was written to be. So as long as it serves the story, then it's okay. But I totally get you. You don't have to like everything about it for sure. I think long-winded speeches in the franchise came from writers trying to recreate what Loomis gave us in 78. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Thank you, Ashton. Jamie, she hated they killed her character off and she wouldn't even read the end script. Oh, it's too bad. I would have kept her. She would have been happy. She would have been happy with my version. The DGG trilogy so off the wall, Davey had to add a movie to fix it. Well, not really, though. I'm just shifting everything, right? Because if Halloween 2018 is the sequel to Halloween from 1978, then the movie after Halloween 2018 is the end of the trilogy. And that's the way they should have looked at it. David Gordon Green should have looked at his second movie as the end of a trilogy. And then you take that creative leap and do something different with your third movie that acts as, honestly, it could have been a jumping off point to a brand new series. I know that, we're going to get Michael back at some point, right? That's just inevitable, but everyone's like, how are they going to bring Michael back when they reboot the franchise? What are they going to do in a TV show? At least one of those questions would have been answered if we would have had two David Gordon Green movies that finish a trilogy and then a third David Gordon Green movie that acts as the reboot, or at least the ramp that you can shoot off and go into your next step, or whatever you want to do with that universe next. So yeah, not adding a movie, but definitely like shifting things over a little bit in terms of how the acts of the story unfold. Raymond says, in my personal version of the trilogy, Karen dies mid-first movie, Lori dies end of the first or beginning of the second movie. Then Allison takes over as final girl as they made her seem to be in the story. Yeah, and we're going to get into that when we get to Halloween Returns, for sure, because I do think that I'm fine with Allison's character in this movie. She's sort of place held, she doesn't change too much. But I really loved Andy Matichak's performance in Halloween Ends, in the version of Halloween Ends that we got. So I think we can sort of lean on that and do something really fun with her character that gives her more of that final girl feel. Hell yeah, Allie. I'm pumped that you dig the ideas. I know you're not a fan of Halloween Ends. So yeah, I've turned this movie into Halloween Ends with a definitive end for Michael. And then, tune in next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm sure you'll be super pumped, with what I would do with that third movie of David Gordon Green's. We're still going to keep Corey, all that kind of fun stuff. It's just going to make more sense with everything else. At least I think. Let's see here. Jamie says, I don't blame her. Her character had a great arc and then bam, she's gone. Wasted potential. Yeah, Karen, it is wasted potential with Karen. Absolutely. Davey's going to introduce the Rob Zombie White Horse theory with Corey. Yes, can't wait. We're not going to cross anything over from Rob Zombie. But if you guys like this concept and you like this format of what I'm doing here, the whole how to make it better, let me know in the comments or let me know in the chat, or if you're watching this after the fact, hell, even if you're watching right now, come back to the vid, drop a comment, let me know a movie or a franchise, or maybe even just like a run. Like, what if you want to see like the what am I thinking here? Why can't I think of the character's name from Tommy from I've got Tommy Doyle on the brain. But Tommy Jarvis, what about that trilogy from Friday the 13th? Now, I love two of those movies, and the middle one's sort of so maybe we could jump into that franchise and have a little fun and talk about, you know, some changes I would make to make it better. Make it better, I guess, you know, just different. But no white horse, no white horse. Would have looked great in the storm drains. Maybe Corey's got like a white horse tattoo or something like that. There was a lot of wasted potential here. I think there's a lot of good too, Brooke. I'm sure you were in Dave's stream earlier where, you know, everyone was talking about their hot Halloween takes. One of my hot takes is that the David Gordon Green movies are all top 5 in the franchise. Doesn't mean that they're perfect. They are far from it. You know, there are pieces in every one of these movies that I would have, you know, switched around or changed, as you can tell from this stream here. But I do really love these movies quite a bit, especially if you compare these movies to some of the other sequels we got. I think these ones start looking really good. Overall, I like the trilogy, but not a fan of 4, 5, and 6. I had no stakes in the story. Yeah. I like 4 okay. I don't really like 5. I'm starting to like 6 more and more, especially watching the producer's cut. If you don't know Dr. Loomis, we're no longer friends and you're completely dead to me. Yeah. That's this one line didn't work for Resurrection. Why would they use it here? Yeah, you know, terrible. I did laugh out loud, started stealing smokes out of my mom's purse early. I wish I'd never started. Yeah, it's true. Haunted Hippie is doing a Kills watch party. That's what I'm doing next. That'll be a damn blast. I really enjoy her channel and her content. So yeah, if I hadn't just watched Halloween Kills, I'd probably jump in and hang out for a little bit. Yeah, the mask is great, Nicholas. It's awesome. Except the lady is dead and not mute in a wheelchair with her sister. We'll get to that next week. The one thing that doesn't need to change in Kills is the soundtrack. Absolutely, Chester. The soundtrack to all of these movies they're incredible soundtracks. I don't even know. It's so tough for me to pick a favorite. I think we were talking about this yesterday on the watch party for Halloween 2. You know, maybe Ends. I think the music is the best in Ends, but you know, the music here in Kills is really like, I love those minor key melodies and just sort of the dark, you know, the dark melodic content that's going on in the songs here. There's a whole bunch of really good stuff. Absolutely. Light bulb in the throat, Jamie. So yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I figured she's dead too. So I have no problem with her being dead. What did the Johns do with the Myers house, or what the Johns did with the Myers house was so awesome. Yeah, it's beautiful, gorgeous. Sandra, there's a man in the bathroom and he's wearing a monster mask. What's he doing? How the fuck should I know? Or whatever he says. Hilarious. Yeah, if we're trying to create that whole vibe of like Halloween or Haddonfield hates Laurie, it does work, and maybe she does live. I don't know. I'm gonna rewatch Ends and think about all that stuff. I mean, shit. If I'm gonna bring Aaron the podcaster back, then maybe Sandra lives. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. Let's see here. We got Happy Sanjo hanging out. What's happening, Coy? Great to see you in the chat. Judy Greer, there we go. That's who that is. Yeah, she's in friggin' everything, and I am so far behind in the chat because that was like ages ago. So let me jump ahead. I'm just going to make sure I'm not missing saying what's up to anyone like Herbert Geddes. How you doing, Herbert? You know, maybe not to you, Nicholas, but I've been called that and much worse, I assure you. Not going to lie, Jamie says she's in a mood, doing her best. Well, I hope the mood gets better. I hope that we can help improve your mood, Jamie, for sure. Let's see what else we got going on in here. Just want to play catch up if I can. Davey's going to be sent to the Fix the Horror Verse one franchise at a time. You are horror Jesus, Davey. Oh, I love it. That's hilarious. Yeah, man, we could keep on going from here. We could talk about 4, 5, and 6. We could do how to make it better, 4, 5, and 6. Do you guys like doing these live? Would you prefer it if I just did it as like if I did each one of these as like a video essay that I pre-recorded and edited and put pictures over and all that kind of fun stuff? Let me know which you prefer. I really love hanging out with you guys live, but I totally understand that a pre-recorded video is maybe a little easily or more easy to digest, certainly. So just let me know. This stuff is so cool. Keep doing it as a regular series, maybe occasionally having a guest on to go back and give their own take. That would be fun. Absolutely. Yeah, I could have Cecil from the Horror Show channel. He's got that writer's brain, you know, so it'd be really fun to sort of workshop something with him and then bring him on so we have like a game plan and everything for sure. Uh, the theme to Kills is my favorite version of the theme. Yeah, with the really cool, like the those like really like minor key like oohs and ahs. I really love those. Yeah, really great version of the theme. Curiously, my favorite soundtrack is the part where the shape returns in the 2018 movie. It is badass. Yeah, I mean the whole soundtrack in that 2018 film is a vibe in and of itself. Really good shit. Really good shit. Let's see here. Gory likes the live. All right. I like the Myers house theme from the flashback and Kills. Man, the flashback, just the way I like how they go back to, you know, I think sometimes people forget that like Michael is very like, oops, sorry. Michael's very like handsy. You know, he likes to, you know, choke people, even if he doesn't strangle them all the way to death. He likes to get his hands on them. And I love that we get that in the flashback. It's really nice. Liana says the lives are great. All right, we can just go ahead and keep it that way. I like it live so the chat can interact with you and give you their thoughts. Hell yeah. Then you know what? All I ask that you guys do is just continue to share the channel with people that you think would dig what we're doing here. And especially for folks that you know that are Halloween fans or horror fans, you know, bring them on into that discussion. And maybe a fun thing we could do, guys, is, you know, this was sort of like not last minute. I've been thinking about these changes for a while, but to, you know, to do these live streams here in the month of October, leading up to Halloween. I sort of, you know, it was sort of put together quickly where I was like, all right, I'm just going to do this. Like, bleh, there it is. But what we could do in the future is I could let you guys know which episode is coming up. You know, we could do like one a month and I could let you guys know. And then you guys can jump into the comments on the post, right? And you can put the things that you would do that would, you know, be your changes for the film. And then we can highlight some of those here in, you know, during the stream. We can throw you guys some love and some flowers for your ideas and, you know, further that interaction and those thoughts, Raymond. I think that would be fun. Can't touch H2O. It's near perfect. I don't know about that. All I got to say here, Trisha, is what if Michael just like looked good consistently in H2O? What if they picked a good looking mask and the good looking mask was in every single shot? That would make H2O better. That's one change right there. Boom, did it. I put more characters and more kills in there too. Have a great rest of your night, Gene. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Favorite track in Kills is Unkillable. It's a bummer it was edited down in the film, but I prefer it from the original soundtrack, says T. Parker Evans. Welcome to the chat, T. Parker. Yeah, these soundtracks are amazing. I've got each one on vinyl. I even have the extended version of the Halloween 2018 soundtrack. So there's one that's a single vinyl and then there's a double. I have a special limited edition of the Halloween Ends soundtrack. And actually right now we've got the covers, they're all in frames right now up on the wall for spooky season month. But yeah, I mean, what a fantastic trio of soundtracks. Nicholas likes the lives too. It's fun to hang out with you, Davey, and the community. Hell yeah. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, everyone, you guys are all great in the chat. The, you know, the first timers, the folks that maybe they don't know if they want to subscribe yet, but they're thinking about it. The folks that have been subscribed since day one or early on. And of course, our amazing channel members as well. You guys are incredible for hanging out. really appreciate you kicking it with us here, Chester. Have a great rest of your night, man. And hopefully we'll see you again sometime soon. Flopbuster is in the chat. What's happening, Flop? Says there's so much good stuff in Kills. It makes the bad stuff even more frustrating. I can totally see that. And I think like the more and more I watch it, the more I just like really love the things I love, and the stuff that is frustrating gets less frustrating through time. So I don't know how many times you've watched it, Flop. Maybe it gets worse for you every time, but for me, I'm just sort of like, well, this is when I can check my phone and think about why it doesn't work for me. Absolutely. Meanwhile, RZH2 gets better every time. Yeah, I really enjoy that one. I gotta say, I'm a fan. Number one, how dare I, says Trisha. I'll give you the masks and maybe more kills, but nothing else. Okay, yeah. I think just there's such a small cast in there, and it would have been nice to get a little bit more from a couple of the other side characters. I think Lori is great in H2O. I can't think of Adam Arkin. I can't think of the character's name, but her boyfriend, I think he's really charming. Like the first act of H2O, I think is really, really solid. And a big part of that is the fact that they used the curse mask in the opening scene. I think the curse mask works really well there. But I get why they didn't continue using it because it's a little confusing. But yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on, what we would do to make Halloween Kills better. So we can kind of do a quick rundown like we did last week. Just if you want the condensed version. So I would change the title to Halloween Ends. The flashback, maybe extend it a little bit. I would cut to the credits after Lonnie says the boogeyman, and then jump back into the flashback. Lori is going to the hospital and she's pretty much sidelined for the movie. Tommy Doyle is running for office. We actually get to meet him. He's business casual, hanging out with his average Joe friends at Mick's Bar. He also leads the mob. He's pretty calm, collected, all that kind of good stuff. But it doesn't mean that everything goes great with the mob. Hawkins is the sheriff. He is not in the hospital because he wasn't with Sartain in the previous film. He visits Lori while she's in a medically induced kind of coma thing and sort of, spills the beans to her. But he's kind of spilling the beans a little bit to us as well. And he sort of says some of the, like the way that Tommy is like, you protected me, I'm going to protect you. Hawkins is basically like, it's my job to protect this community and we're going to, kill this fucker tonight. No bracket, doesn't need to be in there. The dialogue's going to be a lot better. We're not going to repeat half of the lines. We're not going to say evil dies tonight. With no bracket, you're not going to get a couple of the cringiest lines in there. No Mr. Tivoli. So no confusion with the mob. We still have the mob. They break off into little groups to try to kill Michael. We see, a montage of them getting in some good shots, but ultimately failing. Big John and Little John, I really don't change much here other than the fact that they don't repeat their names all the time. I'd keep everything else the same. I love Big John and Little John. They're friggin' great. I'd keep Karen alive. She leads the mob. She grabs Michael's mask out of his house and leads him out into the street where the mob converges on Michael and just rips him to absolute shreds, leaving the mask on the pavement. And we see a hand with a ring on it reach in and pick up the mask. And then we cut to black. And one little juicy thing I forgot again, Aaron, the podcaster, we see that he has somehow made it through, but he's hooked up to a shitload of machines. He is absolutely critical in the hospital, but we just get that little tease that maybe he'll make it. And those are the changes I would make in Halloween Kills, which I'm calling Halloween Ends, because I want DGG to be able to make his own damn movie next. This is the end of the trilogy, started with 78, then H18, which we're calling Kills, and now Kills, which we're calling Ends, a nice little tight trilogy. That's what I've got for you guys this time around. This has been an absolute blast. I love this is one of my favorite things to do whenever I hang out with a friend or, family members that are into film or whatever, is just to talk about the possibilities and just sort of have that discussion of like, the what if scenarios and talk about, like just analyze film as if it were literature for sure. Let's see here. We've got I see here that Jay Moody is hanging out. What's happening, Jay? Great to see you popping in again. I wish Ben Meeker was still alive. Man, I would love to see Meeker come back. I think Bo Starr's performance is incredible in those movies. I think he arguably is stronger than Brackett, and I would like to see that character come back. Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for hanging out, Nicholas. Really appreciate you. Hawkins is, yeah, you can tell that he's got a crush. That I mean, he's a little bit of a charmer, and we'll see. I'll tell you more about that next week, Raymond. Potato salad. What's going on with the potato salad? Oh yeah. Hawkins wants a piece of Lori's. Cherry block. I wish Uber Jason was in Halloween Kills. Michael wouldn't beat him. Well, yeah, I mean, Uber Jason's probably going to beat everybody, right? That would be wild to see Michael and Jason against one another. I've certainly seen it in fan films. I don't know if I need to see it in a real film, but I like seeing it in the fan stuff. It's fun. Have a great rest of your night, Nicholas. Really appreciate you kicking it with us, man. And yeah, guys, we are pretty much wrapped up there. We've been going for about an hour and a half here. These are sort of streams where it's just kind of like get to the point, get out, let you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night. Haunted Hippie is doing a Halloween Kills watch party. I know Pat, that Halloween movie collector, is doing a Monster Squad watch party, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other lives and great horror content out there for you to enjoy. So I really do appreciate you guys coming by and hanging out, spending some time with us here. You guys fuel everything we do here at the channel. I truly appreciate everything that you do, whether it's just hanging out or sharing it with a friend or putting your money where your mouth is and being a channel member or throwing out a super chat. Really appreciate every little bit of it. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you so much for tuning in. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the little changes that I've pitched here and my ideas. I'm curious to know, what you think of those ideas, and also like changes that you would make to the David Gordon Green trilogy of Halloween films, that you think would make them better ultimately. So always fascinated to know what you guys think. Don't forget to click that like before you head out of the stream. Share this with anyone that you think would really dig what we're doing here. And yeah, guys, this has been an absolute blast. I will be back tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern with Late Night with the Davey. We've got Matt from Mad Blood on. If you guys haven't checked out Mad Blood, go give him a sub. He is putting out amazing content. His channel is blowing up lately, and we are going to get into a discussion and show like reviews of films. So hilariously positive reviews to bad horror movies. So yeah, that'll be fun, because who knows, maybe some of these bad movies are movies you like, or maybe one of them's a movie I like or a movie Matt likes. So it should be fun, and it should be a lively discussion with the chat and everything. It'll be a little bit different than what we usually do on Late Night, where it'll be less of an interview and more of just like having fun. So yeah, I'll be back tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern for that. And then, man, we're doing streams for like the rest of the month. So make sure you're subbed, hit that notification bell, and don't miss a dang thing. Absolutely. Really appreciate you guys so much. We'll see you tomorrow. And until then, I've been and will continue being Davey Deathray. Take care.